continuing on, starting from the high view, and we're going to start with DM James on this one. Starting, we did the 10,000 foot view last time. Now we're going to dive into it a little bit deeper. What tips do you have for world building in a vast science fiction universe?
Oh my goodness, I generally would just use the traveler rules.
So that for world building, okay, when you say the
That's
traveler
the
rules,
tip. In the traveler core book, they actually have a set of rules where you can random the exact hydrographics, the climates of the world, what kind of animals live there, etc., etc., etc. So, I mean, and then of course, I know in Coriolis, every world has pretty much been kind of, sort of, at least a paragraph described. So, I mean, that's kind of maybe the big issue with this. I don't mean to let the show down, but it's like playing Star Frontiers. I mean, come on, we all know what's on Volturnus. And that's kind of my experience with.
Okay, but let's just say this: you've got. Let's use Coriolis because I kind of understand it. Okay. There are 36 systems, if I remember correctly. I forget how many worlds there are, but there are 36 systems, if I'm remembering. Mm-hmm. How do you, or if you just want to say how Coriolis did it itself, how do you create that lived-in feeling, so to speak?
Well, that just comes by experience at describing things. So, when the players land at the starport, probably the first thing I always lead off with when the players walk off the ship is smell. Because every planet smells different,
Well, somebody who's traveled all over the world, they'll tell you every country smells different.
Exactly. And then after smell, sound, and then finally what they're looking at. Of course, after they've been off their ship for a long time, as soon as they go back on the ship, they're going to notice how bad it stinks. That's also an option.
So you're hitting the five senses.
The five senses, just describing what they see as they travel about.
What about with things, again, just using Coriolis' example, let's say they're in Kua Station. How about the crampedness of the station, the shops and things that are going on? Are there any things you elucidate on there in terms to give them the feel that it's lived? It might be science fiction and the universe is actually large and traveling between stars you're not just going to walk from one planet to the next. That combines that feel that it's both cramped and expansive at the same time.
Well, look at you. You're ready to run Coriolis already. I would point out the darkness, the flickering neon lights, the fact that all the walls are damp, the crampedness, the stink of unwashed human bodies. Maybe point out, the noise as a gaggle of slaves gets dragged down a hall, by chains, stuff like that. Okay. Might even mention the spicy smell of curry stand down the way, all that kind of stuff. Just the hubbub of human life, and on a space station like that cramped in, everything would just be damp. It would just be like the walls would be sweating, the constant whirring of air circulators, and it'd be a whole mess. I mean, I would really endeavor to keep the description relatively short because you could really spend an H.P. Lovecraft amount of time and adverbs describing every part of this scene. So kind of just start out big and let the players focus in on what they want to hear.
Okay. I'll flop up to Bear here. Again, it's very similar to the previous question, but now we're kind of in the minutia more. What tips do you have for world building in a vast science fiction universe?
Tips?
Tell me how I can do it better, or what you do to make. What's that?
You're hopeless.
I am hopeless. Or tell the folks out there what they can do to improve their worlds, or potentially improve their worlds, that a lot of people might miss out on.
See, this is where I can't do this, and this is something we've discussed before. I don't believe in telling people how to do things. I believe in telling people how I do things, but it might not be the
Exactly.
same for you. So, to all you good people out there in YouTube land and to all the ships at sea, just make it fun, make it interesting, and make it something you resonate with. Because if I make something that I care about, it's going to be something my players are going to care about because they're going to feel the passion for it. If I make it boring, well, then it's going to be the Goblin in the Inn, where they just pay no attention to the actual quest and go talk to the first thing that looks interesting to them.
Shiny.
You have to make it interesting. You have to make it fascinating. Tie it into the character backgrounds. Make the characters connect to the world. If you create a world setting, be it a page, half a page, or 10 pages, and your players refuse to read it, then you need to get new players, because those players will never appreciate the world you're making for them. They will never get the most out of that world. So if you're going to put a level of work into it, make sure it's interesting, but also make it mandatory reading. How can you do that? Give them reward for reading it. Have an experience point quiz where you ask questions about the setting, and if they get the right answer, they get a 10% XP bonus, whatever it is. Find ways to get them to engage. But once they're engaged, do not disengage. Do not then suddenly go, well, it's all great that you read all this material. And now a wormhole takes you to another galaxy. Like, what? Why did I bother reading all this shit if you're just going to get rid of it? Why am I going to bother reading all this shit if you're just going to have us travel back in time to a period that isn't the period you wrote about? Why am I going to give a shit about any of this if we go through a black hole and wind up somewhere else? It's very easy in sci-fi to go, I have an idea and I'm going to do it because it's sci-fi and I can do it. It's very easy to do. But it takes discipline and focus to say it's sci-fi. There's a theme, there's a point, and there's a setting, and I'm going to stick to it and let my players explore it to the point where once they've explored it, once they've attached themselves to it, now, much like bringing in aliens or things like that to a hard sci-fi setting, I can now go away from that because they'll appreciate stepping away from it. They'll feel the loss of no longer being there. Oh no, our home is destroyed. Oh no, I went through a slipstream and now I'm on the far side of the galaxy and people are hunting and trying to kill me. Oh no, I traveled through time and now it's 1,000 years in the future and monkeys run the galaxy. Oh no, like that's the thing. If you do that as the first step, they'll never buy in. They'll never feel it as much because they'll go, what do I care about the old stuff? Let's just do the new stuff. But if they have a reason to want to go home, if they have a reason to want to get back or a reason to create a new home, that's buy-in. That's what you got to do in a sci-fi game is you got to get buy-in. Well, you got to do it in any game. But sci-fi, it's really, really, really important because it's not medieval fantasy. It's not the world outside your window. It's pure imagination. And you got to imagine if you're going to do imagination. So my tip to you is make a world that makes sense to you and then present it to a way exactly. It's a rainbow. It's magic. And then basically get your players invested in it as well. Yes, of course, that can be said of any setting, Nerdy Yorker. That's the point. There are no singular sci-fi rules. It's all gaming has this. All writing has this.
All right, let's slide on down to Nagahide. Same question.
You guys ever notice, by the way, he never has a follow-up question for me? He always has, everybody else gets follow-up questions. I get, all right, that's enough of fucking bear and move on. Breaking my heart, Max.
I do have an actual follow-up question for you, but I don't want to ask it before I ask Nagahide this question, which is, what tips do you have for world building in a vast science fiction universe?
Well, I think James and Bear both hit on two major important things about doing just that. Describing the area where they're going in detail with different senses, and getting buy-in from the players in that particular story or scenario. But the other thing I think that is important, and even I fail at this one, is when I create something, actually writing it down, taking the notes of what I just created in those 5 seconds as I'm describing something to the players. Because what if they leave that area and they come back, I didn't take the notes. So now I'm scrambling to try and remember, what did I say? Big gun. What did I say to describe this area before? Right? Like, so to me, taking notes and getting, like Bear said, getting the buy-in from the players, though, and that's important. Those are the important things.
So when we're talking world building and science fiction, I mean, we've got a lot of moving parts here, and I'm not saying that fantasy doesn't have the same. Modern, you have real world implication or ideas that you could take things from the real world, which of course you can do anywhere. But I mean, you've got political structures, you've got family structures, you've got architecture, and I know it might sound silly, but just a different type of architecture could mean something completely different. You have religion, you have magic, maybe. You have the idea of survival because you're in space. All these things, plus many, many, many more land masses. And Bear was talking before about how you get oxygen off an ice planet. Those considerations. The more hard sci-fi you want to go, the more you have to consider those things. All of those have to be brought together somehow. Now you can hand wave it. In fact, I'd play in a game that is hand wave. Again, I like Star Wars, for example, as a game to play in because we can go visit these different areas. Where a lot of why am I on a planet that should actually kill me? Because like Mustafar is a perfect example. When you go there, you should take 2 breaths and just fall over dead. You should not be able to live there at all. Hoth is just Minnesota, so I disagree that would kill you. But
you want to play that game there?
It's true. It's true.
You want to play that game? I play that game.
It's Norway, whatever.
Yeah, it's better.
but no, it's like Minnesota in the 80s. It might not be exactly the same now. But the point is like the world building for those, they have to kind of make sense. You have to build them so that they feel real. Even if they don't feel real for the real world, they feel real for the game, the verisimilitude. And if you can do that, it does take work. And I think Bear is right about something here also, where he's like, you might have to write some things and then make people read it. I know it's verboten in today's world, but if it's too long, it's too long. But if you give them a star chart, and this actually I wanted to kind of ask DM James, because you said you use the traveler system. Do you do the sector maps where you just make one sector at a time? Or do you just use the entire 23rd, whatever, Imperium?
And if I'm playing Classic Traveler, I just make it up as I go along because I'm not the hugest Third Imperium fan.
Okay.
But if I'm playing 2300, then that's a much more limited amount of space. And I just use that. In 2300, I mean, it's literally 2300. So
I got you.
A lot of the problems that humanity deals with today, they're dealing with then, except they have it even worse because France is the world power. So,
Okay, now we know it's fake. Now we know it's fantasy.
But, and the big gun, this is my Death Corps of Krieg las rifle.
Okay.
From the game that Bear hates being brought up, Warhammer.
I don't give a shit. Bring up anything you want.
It goes with my Death Corps of Krieg cosplay. I have a complete Death Corps of Krieg costume. That's right.
Okay.
Kriegsman rule. But yeah, that's basically it. I mean,
All right. So before I get to follow up here, thank you, Law Dog, for gifting 5 memberships. You're wrong. Longshot, Highlander 9, Morgan Fish, and Heathen Dog. Heathen Dog. They're random, so he doesn't choose, but he's not got a membership. Yay, he can watch all the private videos he could already watch. So thank you for that, Law Dog. Those folks aren't going to be added. If we get $100 in super chats today and do the giveaway, they aren't going to be added today, but they will be added by next week. So the follow-up question I wanted to ask Naga Hyder, what are your thoughts of sci-fi games that never leave a planet? And this is in relation to world building.
So basically, Doctor Who season 11 plus,
or like riffs.
Yeah, fair.
I mean, if you're playing Earth rifts, you never leave. If you're playing Mutants in Orbit rifts, you might leave if you survive long enough. But I don't have a problem with that. I love rifts. I think it's for a sci-fi military type RPG. To me, it's a great game. What I'm gonna
Well,
say ties
the
in.
funny thing is with this is you can actually answer a lot of these things by using riffs and just stealing, just literally right now, steal what Kevin wrote. He's got like 50 books,
Yes.
if not more, on just
So-
this one setting that doesn't leave Earth.
Right. So that was going to be my next point to what you said a few minutes ago, when you were talking about world building and expanding your universe. Like, the thing with sci-fi versus fantasy is, okay, fantasy, we have a lot of book media and a lot of RPG games where you can expand your world. However, sci-fi, there's a lot of media out there. There's tons of TV shows, tons of movies that are all science fiction that you can steal from all day long to expand your world and your universe. And when it comes to riffs, I mean, if you read any of those world books and put your setting in any one of those zones, like Riffs Australia, if you read the whole book from front to cover, it builds all of Australia for you. You can add your own stuff to it, which I think every good game master does, is add their own flavor to the stuff that Kevin has already written. I mean, I remember in the 90s, when, like, mid to late 90s, when Riffs was at its peak, in my opinion. You could go onto the internet, as it was back in those days, and you could download all sorts of people created all sorts of OCCs and RCCs. I have binders like this thick full of OCCs and RCCs and other descriptions of groups and areas that Kevin didn't write about that other people did. So there's a lot of
So when it comes to world,
information
so
out
you
there.
said Riffs Australia. How can you say the Riffs Australia book? You've already got it there, but how in terms of world building, in it might be Riffs, but it's still we know every Riffs table is different, right? So how would you use the Riffs Australia book to help world build the campaign that you're setting there?
It gives you the description of the Aborigines. It gives you the description of the animals that are there. It gives you a description of the land that's there. So you just expand on what Kevin has already written. When I haven't read it in a while. I mean, I could reach.
Well, I don't need the specifics. Just
away,
how would
but
you use
I
it
know.
in a general sense?
Just take the information that he has, and then use your own imagination to expand on it. Like, I know because I've been to Australia, there's a large rock formation. I cannot remember the name of it off the top
Ayers
of my
Rock.
head. Yes, thank you.
No
In
worries.
Australia, I haven't read Riffs Australia in a while, but I guarantee you, in that book, it lists that as a magical ley line, like super strong ley line place. So expand on that. Maybe somebody controls it. Maybe a group of magic users similar to the Federation of Magic. You could create that yourself, because I'm fairly certain Kevin didn't write about something like that in Riffs Australia. You have that version of Federation of Magic, and you can develop all of the NPC characters. Who's in charge? What kind of magic user are they? Do they sacrifice people to the ley lines to get more power? It's that kind of stuff that you have to work on.
Cool. Okay. I'll get to the super chat at the end of the segment, and there are a couple questions. I haven't ignored them. We'll get to those. But so, Bear, the question I wanted to ask you, and there's a reason why I wanted to ask you this last, and this is your follow-up question. So remember, the question right now, oh my God, I can't talk. The real question is, what tips do you have for world building in vast science fiction universes? Where do you get your inspiration?
Everywhere. Everything I read, everything I look at, everything I watch, everything I listen to, things I see in the real world, ideas I have where I go, this is an annoying process. How could we make this better? Oh, and then sci-fi. But that's Ularu. Ularu, isn't that Ayers Rock? Ularu, isn't it the name of the same place? I don't know. I get confused. It's Australia. Everything wants to kill me. Anyway.
I have to interrupt you. Sorry, I got a super chat that's $20.
Okay, go for it.
You get interrupted. Well, it's actually a Rumble rant. On the Rumble side, Grizzly Beardo says, Hoth isn't Minnesota. Minnesota is worse. I saw Star Trek 4 in December 91, and they described the prison planet as a hellhole because it was negative 30 degrees Celsius. Well, I walked out of that theater in negative 25, negative 31 is a hellhole. Yeah, well, there's a difference between Minnesota then and now, though. I don't think it's warmer, but my folks have told me, and Naugahyde, you're living there now, you can tell me it's true. In the 80s, we used to get so much snow, we would jump off our roofs and we'd build caves in between my property, the neighbor's property, and so forth. We can't do that anymore. My parents are like, no, we don't really get much snow anymore. It's just cold and brown.
Yeah, it's the same everywhere.
Yeah, that's true. Except, so this past winter, yes. Last year, I was shoveling almost every day. It was horrible. I had to go out and I had to break down and buy a snowblower. And then, of course, this year I would use it.
It's called a kid. All right. Let's get back on topic. You're sorry, Bear, but I have to interrupt when it comes to $20 or more. So, again, you were talking about inspiration, and can you tell me how you used one of those pieces, whether it's a book or that the process you didn't like, or whatever, as an inspiration for a game you ran? Or will it spoil a secret for one of the games you're running?
No, for a sci-fi game. Okay, look, I was running a Star Wars game one time, and I was so up to here with the Empire, and I was so up to here with the Rebellion, and I was so up to here with all this stuff. I wanted to do something interesting. I wanted to do something different. So I reached into this, and I pulled out a whole bunch of interesting shit, and I created this entire sector of space within the galaxy, because it's massive and there's room to put it in, that was basically oh, Jesus Christ, I can't remember the name of the goddamn, the Capricorns, and they were a group, and they had been doing what they had done, and then the Empire had teamed up with their enemies, the Cylons, and given them better weaponry, and they destroyed the Capricorns. But there's a legend that their last battle star, the Star of Kolob, is out there somewhere. Or sorry, Cobalt is out there, and maybe you as a bunch of rebels could go find it and then have a big weapon that's about the size of a Star Destroyer that was rumored to be one of the most perfect space battle vessels ever, and that was what the entire campaign was. And then once they got into that sector, I took shit from Last Starfighter, I took shit from Star Trek, I took shit from Red Dwarf, I took shit from wherever I went, Farscape. The entire game opened up with one of the bounty hunters delivering a Hynerian bounty to the guild. And that was the opening scene. And the Hynerians are Rigel, the little Muppety guy that was so full of shit and always trying to scam everybody in Farscape. That's what I did. But I took stuff from all sorts of places, every part of the place, because, hell, Lucas did when he created Star Wars. Why shouldn't I? It gets a bit weird if you suddenly have Klingons show up. People go, well, but those are Klingons. What's wrong with Klingons in Star Wars? Why would that be a problem? That they could be there. It's a big galaxy. You could have that. Well, I'll have Andorians show up. Blue guys,
because it was a long time ago. It wasn't in the future.
Lick my.
No, I don't disagree with you. And just for the folks
kind of stuff, being in the metro here in Montreal one day, just sitting in the metro waiting for the goddamn metro and thinking to myself, what if we were on another planet? And this was a maglev train that was built in the tunnels because we couldn't go to the surface. And then what would that be like? What would that society be like where you're on this high-speed train that took you all over the planet so you could live on one side of the planet but work on the other and stuff like that? The underground city in Montreal, which is something that we love in the winter because it keeps us warm, and it's massive. You guys should really look it up. It's an interconnection of tunnels and malls and buildings and subway stations and all this kind of stuff. But
Why is it the French go underground? Minnesota, we got it above ground.
Yeah, so we went underground here. Why wouldn't that be something fantastic on a planet that you couldn't live on the surface? And then I thought to myself, well, what if it was a society where they've been told, like in 13 Monkeys, you can't go to the surface and you're stuck living in this massive underground, but your players find this one stairwell behind a wall that actually leads to an exit to the surface. Do they go check it out? Are they going to die when they open the door because there's a pox, or are they going to go explore a gamma world type place? So that's the type of stuff my brain does. It's Jack Kirby. I don't know if you know who Jack Kirby was, but Jack Kirby and Stan Lee were pretty much responsible for Marvel Comics. Jack Kirby was so creative that eventually they just took his driver's license away from him, and the court ordered that he wasn't allowed to have one and his wife could drive him, because he would literally be driving his car, see something, hear a noise, have a thought, and lose himself in creativity and drive off the road. So they just took away his license and went, you're a danger to others. But that's how my brain goes. I'll be sitting around just doing something, and then suddenly I'll just be like, and I'll be lost in creativity for a while. And if you don't have that as a part of your brain, train your brain to do it. And the way to train your brain to do it is to reverse engineer. Hey, why do these Klingons seem so familiar to me? Well, they're Vikings because they all want to die with in battle and go to Stovokor, which is Valhalla. Okay. They're obsessed with honor. Okay, like samurai. Okay. But they fight on the drop of a hat and they're always causing trouble like bikers. Okay, so they're samurai biker Vikings. Now I understand the source of that. I can then use that to create something. So reverse engineer and train your brain to be creative and to see things creatively. Don't just they're blue and they have a horn, and that's that. Bob, it's a hard sci-fi game. Why the hell are they blue and why the hell do they have a horn? Please explain. At some point someone from the Ministry of the Imperium of Anthropology would have studied to find out why these guys are blue and have a horn, because there might be government money in studying that bullshit, so have fun, but reach out, look at other things, and don't just watch sci-fi for your inspirations. Watch spy movies, watch war movies, watch romances, watch all these things, and then find things to steal or borrow or adapt or manipulate for it. There you go.
I don't have. I'm not good with that when it comes to sci-fi, but I do that a lot with fantasy. I actually steal from sci-fi to add to my fantasy games. How do I change this from a laser to a magic missile? But yeah, DM James, is that you or who was saying something?
I did.
I'm sorry.
You're trying to talk.
No, go ahead. What's up?
I was just saying, and don't just go to movies for your inspiration. Go read books too. There's thousands upon thousands of books that have never been turned into a TV show or movie that are actually really good.
Comics, books,
cartoons.
Yep.
Oh yeah, cartoons.
You ever watch Bucky O'Hare? Yeah. No, you haven't watched Bucky O'Hare, but I guarantee if y'all sat down and watched Bucky O'Hare, you could get great ideas for a campaign or a sci-fi setting out of that. That's the kind of stuff you got to do.
Inhumanoids, that'd be a great campaign. That'd be a great setting for something sci-fi.
All right, well, let's move on to the next question here. So go ahead, DM James. Sorry.
There was a time in the past when reading books was not just for smart people, and I believe
people don't have time for books. If you can't say it in a 255 character tweet, that's too long to read. It's ridiculous.
That's not Shore's presidential speech.
All right, we're gonna move on to the next question. I forgot who I ended with. So I think I'm on Bear, but I'm not sure. So we'll just start with him anyway.
Get off me already. What the hell, man?
Fine, we'll start with Nagahide then. Nagahide.
You're crushing my smoke, dude.
How do you keep expansive settings manageable and interesting for the players? I unfortunately think that for me, the answer is way too easy and this one too short. Hopefully you guys have a better one. Like I said, I'm going to start with Nagahide because Bear got smart.
I'll be sure to be stupid for the rest of the night.
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, how do you keep expansive settings manageable and interesting for players?
Manageable and interesting for players. Build it around them. Make sure that. Okay, so Bear said it earlier about writing up a description of your universe or your sci-fi setting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the players also have a part in that. They need to give a good description of who their character is, and then you take parts of that and you build it into your story. Like, okay, if you have a scruffy looking
Nerf herder?
piratey guy, nerf herder, yeah, scruffy looking nerf herder that works with a hairy dwarf guy, you know,
DM James?
right? what about your character is important to you, that, and then that way I can use that and figure out, okay, these two guys are working together, but I have these other players that may have a different purpose. So then I have to think about, okay, what can I do to get them to work together? Well, come up with something that they both want that's different. Like, okay, the nerf herder needs money to expand his farm, right? Well, he has cat hurt nerfs that he can sell, but he has to get them somewhere. Well, these guys have a spaceship that they can use to transport it to another planet where these nerfs might be more valuable. There, now I got the group together. Now I just have to figure out.
So in the terms of the setting, because the question was about the setting in this one.
Right.
So no, this is what you're leading to a place that I can ask this question though. So they're going from one planet to the next. So we're talking that you're setting, even if it's riffs, it could be, I mean, look at all the books he has for riffs. The easy answer for riffs is you pick one world book and you stick to that. You don't have to, but in a setting that's got hundreds of planets, thousands of planets, maybe 10 planets, maybe it's the expanse, lots of little asteroids, but only a couple of planets. So you have them going from one place to the next. I'm going to just jump right into the follow-up question for you on this one, because I think you can lead into this. Do you let the players have input into the world building itself, describing the asteroid or saying what kind of location they want or what the mall might be or whatever? Do you give them access to input?
I do as a player. Like after a session, I'll ask players, like, was that enjoyable? What did you like? What didn't you like? And then I can adjust my game based on their input. If they like the fact that there was more politics and less fighting, okay, now I can adjust my game to be a more political game and less combat, right? So did I kind of answer your question there?
It's up to people who are watching to determine if it answered the question. So, all right, Czar James. How do you keep expansive settings? So you do Traveler, and let's be honest, Traveler can be a pretty big setting if you use it all. All right. So how do you keep expansive settings manageable and interesting for players?
I don't worry about any world that they're not actually on.
Okay. You want to elaborate on that?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's like
pretend you're talking to the people out there a month later and they don't know us. So.
It's like if you were trying to play the Spinward Marches and keep track of all, 1,700 odd systems within it, you would literally just fry your brain, right? So other than maybe keeping track of what they did on the last world they were on and what they're up to on the current world that they're on, I take notes and then don't even think about it.
Do you lose any consistency doing that?
Nope. I mean, because every planet is so different, there is no consistency. And believe me, I'm one max. I'm going way out of my way to be as courteous as possible, and two, I just don't have anything else to say.
Okay.
You know, I'm trying not to talk your ear off, and at the same time.
Oh no, you're well. I mean, don't go for a half hour, but so what the point? Now, just so everybody knows out there, this is James' first time witnessing the show in the new format, and he gets to be on it at the same time. He was a last moment replacement here, so I appreciate him popping on. No, we want your thoughts. So the idea of this is to talk about your thoughts, your experiences, your desires to folks out there, not us, we've talked for years, but to folks out there who may be new to the hobby or maybe looking for some new perspective in the hobby, for example. So you're good. It's okay to jaw the ear off as long as it isn't like a half hour.
Well, you know what's weird about the hobby? Is anyone will accept unquestionably a wizard summoning a meteorite to strike an enemy village and exterminate everybody in it. But the second you tell them about an assault rifle made by some Capellan Confederation somewhere, all of a sudden everybody wants to know how every single bolt in the damn thing works.
Right? That is true. That is true. That is true. Like, I should only have a maximum range of like 450 meters because if it was 455 meters, the parabolic, like, what? Shut up.
It's like, shut up. For some reason, people don't want to believe sci-fi, even when it's hard sci-fi, and they'll accept anything you throw at them in a Magic game.
Well, my issue with hard sci-fi is I can't keep up with it.
The magnetic bottle is what it contains within it, the superheated plasma. Oh, God.
Well, you must have watched my video on this.
No,
Because
I did not.
If the magnetic bottle fills, it melts your face off at 10,000 degrees.
There you go. Superheated.
Just 10,000?
10,000 degrees. Well, that's what happens when you fire the sun at somebody in the form
It sounds like Alabama where I live now.
20 millimeter bolt.
I walk outside and I feel like I'm getting shot in the face at 6 a.m. It sucks. So DM James, to follow up here, how do you keep the survival aspects of the game interesting without becoming tedious?
Oh, geez. That's my favorite part of sci-fi.
Mine too. So
now
do
you're
tell.
Talking my language. Like I cut my teeth on Stranded and Stranded Alone for Classic Traveler.
Okay.
And both of those are basically character has job or characters. They're on a cruiser. Cruise line gets attacked by a terrorist. Travelers get off the ship, land on unexplored world, survive. While also the terrorists are also on the world hunting you down, right?
So when you say survive, now my question. So I have no survival element to me seems too cartoony, but too much survival element to me is just a spreadsheet simulator, and I don't like it. I think Free League, for example, Alien, Coriolis, Mutant Year Zero, like all those games, I think do a really good job, Forbidden Lands, of balancing. Of creating that balancing act. I actually really love the way Forbidden Lands itself handles survival mechanics. For you, though, how do you keep it interesting, but not leaning into tedious?
Will actually go into what do you do during this day and how many liters of water do you gain?
Okay.
So it can be like that.
So it's a spreadsheet simulator.
It do be like that sometimes.
Okay. But I mean, do you find that fun?
But I and my group thought it was a blast.
Okay.
Sure, half of them were dehydrated most of the time and starving, but that's what happens, right? I mean, it could be worse. You could be dying of Gardia in the middle of Poland.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. All right. So we can keep time here. We'll move on to Bear.
I never got to answer the question. I want to answer the question.
Oh, yeah.
So you didn't like me being smart, so I'll be stupid, okay? You just do it. You just do it.
All right, so we're going to move on to your follow-up question. No.
You focus on the players, you focus on what they're doing, you only focus on the things that affect them, things that further the plot, things that further the adventure. If you get world building is fun, I do it, and I get lost in the weeds on world building, but when it comes to the game, I focus on the players. I focus on what they're doing, and that's how you keep your unwieldy universe wieldy.
What I like is I like games like I think Stars Without Number and Traveler, where you build a sector. So you might have an entire universe in mind, but to be fair, with Rifts, you can plan one. By the way, Nerdy Yoga, that's why I said what I said. Rifts is quite expansive, just being on one world. Yeah, you can use phase world and so forth, but one world of Rifts gives you a lifetime of things to enjoy and try. And you can do that in something like Traveler. You don't have to build an entire universe. You can just build a sector. And you know what? If you've kind of boarded that sector, now you build a new one and just fly out to the next one and see what's there. Maybe you're surviving. Maybe you're fighting. Maybe you just meet a whole new culture. Who knows what's going on? But you can build it as you see fit. And I think that's a way, not the way, a way of keeping an expansive setting manageable. But, all right, you guys have any questions for each other before I hit a couple questions and super chats here? But if you have anything you guys want to say to each other before the end of the segment, go ahead and speak now. Forever hold your peace.
Does it have to be related to what they said, or can it be anything?
It has to be related to the topic for today.
Oh, to the topic, okay.
Yeah.
Why? Just why BattleTech? Please explain this to me. They tried, and I don't get it. I don't get the obsessive nature of BattleTech fans. I don't get what it is. What is it about BattleTech that breeds
giant
this
robots?
level of obsessive? There's lots of shit with
military
giant robots. Oh, it's
giant military robots.
It's now I understand.
Whoa,
Never mind. Enough said. Military fetishes.
Not a fetish. It's part of my life. It's who I am.
I'm just saying. BattleTech is obviously military fetishism because Gundam has lots of big robots and fighting and all that kind of shit.
If Bandai would make a Gundam RPG, I'd be playing it all day long. I love Gundam. I have it tattooed on my arm.
I thought people use Mechton for Gundam.
They do. Why not Mechton? Why BattleTech?
Yeah, Gundam's trash because there's no way a mech like that could ever fly around like that.
Okay.
And laser swords. You might as well be asking.
Hang on, James. Hang on.
You might as well be asking for like a freaking Voltron.
Here we go.
RPG.
Okay. So let's put a piece of humble pie on the table in front of you. You literally just made the point that in a fantasy game, a guy casts meteor storm and no one bats an eye. In a sci-fi game, guy brings up a gun, they all want to know how it works. And you just made the argument that the mechs wouldn't work in the Gundam or Voltron.
In Gundam. No,
right?
They would not.
So you're doing
in
the
Gundam
same thing you're accusing the others of doing, sir. You're doing the exact same argument.
No, I'm not. I can explain to you exactly how a mech in BattleTech works.
Yeah,
right down to every little bit of my mere muscle.
Doesn't matter if you can or not. You literally said people will forgive these things in fantasy, but will not forgive them in sci-fi. And that bothered you.
Maybe it's just my disdain for anime, other than Berserk.
Okay, so that's fair. My disdain for BattleTech are the fans.
So
it's
you know what?
BattleTech itself.
Oh, well, I take that personally then.
You may take it personally, but it's just this thing where no matter where I go,
well, I would say something mean to you, but your beard's already gone.
I know. Shut up. Leave the beard alone.
No, Barry, I want to piggyback.
I remember what you looked like when yours was gone, so don't pick.
I might have to shave mine when my helmet and face mask get in.
Bear, I had the opportunity of I did do both Robotech from Palladium and BattleTech. I actually preferred BattleTech. Now, I preferred Robotech for the role-playing game because I haven't done the new Destiny one, but there's never been a good MechWarrior role-playing game. It's just BattleTech with more skills.
Hang on. Whoa. Jesus.
What?
The man with the dove of Jesus, Wesley Curry II. You saw Jesus. Jesus told you to tell the vision. You choose to war against Jesus and not tell it. So I'm not going to let you feel the comforter as you wage your war. The vision is shut. Shai Halud! Shai Halud!
Okay, weirdos in chat.
It would be the Le Sen El Gabe.
Well,
you are morons and liars and frauds. Well, I'm Lutheran, so
thank you. I'm an agnostic, so I don't give a fuck what you say.
Thank you, Mod, who finally took care of that. I appreciate that. I was about to. I do have a couple mods here, but yeah.
Well, it's not a stream without at least
So
one.
I know you got to have one, right?
If one crazy ain't here, it ain't worth doing.
Right.
And since Malachi called in sick, we need an extra crazy.
Well, to be fair, a nerd's nerd, my mods know that they're not supposed to touch stuff unless it gets really out of hand. That got really out of hand. So no harm, no foul there. Now, with that said, getting back on this, so I want to speak to Bear's point for two things. Number one, did both Palladium Robotech and BattleTech. I ended up falling in love with BattleTech more as far as canon goes because I hated Robotech the cartoon. I thought it was goofy. I don't like ninja robots, and I loved how, at least in the original BattleTech, some things over time kind of changed a little bit with this, but they were just, even the 20-ton Locust, while it was maneuverable, it was still a walking tank, and that just felt more visceral, more real to me. As time went on, this is where I'm going to side with Bear. One of the problems with BattleTech fans, and we like to bust each other's balls. Like, James is a weirdo that likes House Merrick for some reason, because for whatever reason, he just likes a perpetual state of civil war. Who cares? But we get it. We know what we're talking about here, right? If somebody like Bear says, well, I like Davian because they seem to be the cool ones. I like the logo, whatever. They got some nice mechs. He doesn't know the lore like we do, and we start busting his balls. It sounds like you're oh, God, here you go again. Oh, you're Fed Rat. Another Fed Rat. Oh, I want to be a Victor Steiner, Davian. Jesus, man. Here we go.
Literally, when I said that when I played BattleTech back in the day, which would be the fucking 80s when it came out, I played Davian. And I got called basic. I got called fucking casual. I got called just the amount of vitriol that came off everybody was like, well, now I'm a converted BattleTech fan. Thank you so much.
See, there's a difference between people doing that in good fun and people doing that seriously. Like, yeah, I mean, there is a type of player that tends to lean towards House Davian that we will bust the balls of. But to be fair, if you were just looking at the game, I took the one with the little yellow, red, yellow patch on there, and I played that one. I guess it was called Davian. Okay, nobody should care, and nobody should bust your balls. The thing is, there's 40 years of lore in the game, and we've read most of it. So, we've got a lot of useless Cliff Clavin information stuck up in our head here, and we got to get it out. Well, Nami, if you grab this battle mech, it'll look like, was it Nixon?
Actually, what you don't understand, Normie, is that the Minuteman is actually called the Minute Man because he was much smaller than an average mech of that size.
Right.
Boy, if I would have known you liked House Davian so much, I would have worn my flight jacket with my House Davian patch right here.
I'll go get my House Liao one. Oh, there we go. We'll just count each other, but I'll be cooking in this house.
My point is that basically the absolute outsider I was made to feel like, despite having played BattleTech for some of these people before they were fucking playing BattleTech, when they were like 5 years old, we were playing it, really left me with a taste of, you know what? I have no interest in your fucking favorite hobby now because you've made it into an us-them outsider thing. Instead of welcoming me in and going, you know what? Davian's a really great starting house, but the more you get into the lore, you might find some other houses are more interesting for you, or you might like some of the mentalities. You're fucking basic. Okay.
If they were doing that in seriousness, then I have a problem with them as well. If they're doing it in jest and it just got out of hand, when every time DM James used to have a stream for a while, he'd say shoot up the Capellans or whatever the hell it was. Whatever you guys were saying over there, you and Hungar and your Karetan Davian nonsense. Yeah, if it's in good nature, it shouldn't be an issue. But yeah, if it's not, but that's the same thing that happened to me with Traveler. The Traveler people made it so I never wanted to play Classic Traveler back in the day because they acted like you had to have a freaking MIT degree to even sit at the table with them. It's just a game, guys. Yeah. You don't know that a G-class sun is 4.2 million miles away in order to get the right radiation coefficient in order to fuck off. So I hear you.
This is one. I'm shocked that Canadians were so rude to a fellow Canadian about
one Canadians, my buddy. One Canadians.
Oh,
you were playing BattleTech down here? You should have hung out with me, man.
No. Playing BattleTech here was fun when we played it back in the days. I'm talking about once I was in the online community talking to people about it.
Oh, there's your problem. You were online.
Some of them were online. On shows like these in the last year. You know what I'm saying?
No, the best house is the house you like. And I stopped dogging the Capellans when I caught up to the lore and realized, Jesus, Merrick screwed them over big time. I started feeling kind of bad about the Capellans. They lost like half their empire.
And my point being, and this is why when I do sci-fi, I create my own shit instead of doing prepackaged commercial shit, because when you create your own shit, people will discover what they like within it. When you do prepackaged shit, okay, you're running a Star Wars game and you change something because you didn't read this one expanded universe novel, Tales from Jabba's Foot, and now actually no, the Rhodians are
Yeah,
fuck
I hate
off,
that. I hate
you
that.
fucking nerd.
What's the name in Star Wars? The Old Republic. There's a race of
Hey,
people.
Wes is back with more religious shit.
Yeah, I blocked him fully this time. With what was it, the Ratonga or whatever they were called? I don't know what the hell they were called. Some rat. I called them Ratatakatootie, and people were getting really pissed off at me for that. I'm like, I couldn't say the name, so you're getting that from me. It's not that serious when you're playing a game, guys. You know, if you're talking lore, if you're actually trying to do, let's say, a video, or you're trying to talk with friends about, hey, how has BattleTech progressed from here to there? Yes, nothing wrong with, well, this is kind of shady how that happened, or this kind of messed up how that happened. Other than that, yeah, we bust each other's balls. It's the same thing of busting each other's balls to playing, oh, you play baby basic D&D? Well, we play advanced D&D. So, you know, while at the same time making sure they had a table to play. What's that?
You play D&D, you fucking child.
See? I'm not feeling welcome.
I get the point you're making.
Yeah.
I'm just playing along for fun.
Yeah, no, but I'm also saying it for the folks out there.
You played the wizard or the TTR wannabe house rule system that failed.
Which, Palladium?
No, face rip.
Oh, wow.
Oh, no more shots fired. I got to read super chats. I don't have time for this. That's going to dive into an after show, segment 5 or after show. First of all, we're going to read. I'm going to read super chats, and we got a couple questions, and we got to go on to the next segment. This one's dragged on, but hey, it got exciting finally. So, Bruce Lombardo for $10. Thank you very much, Bruce. Haven't seen you in a while. Happy to see you here. Heard you got a new job. The hours suck and so forth, but happy to see you here, sir. If the Space Vikings don't have need for virginal yogurt fetching, is it really a good sci-fi? I can't do this. Yeah, answer the first question, Bear.
So if the Space Vikings don't have a need for virginal yogurt fetching, is it really good sci-fi? There is a maiden who will be unemployed if we don't make this canon at every table. Well, here's what you don't understand. In my world, the Space Vikings, the Mildarians, what they do is they leave out these pyramidal traps that protect their sacred virginal yogurt, and therefore they will never have to worry about them. The secret is that they build their temples out of a white substance, so the white pyramidal traps that lie in front of the cooling storage container that hold the virgin space yogurt you can't see them until you step on them, and then the Space Vikings descend on you, and well, they make bread from your bones. So there you go. That's how you do it. You're welcome.
I'm scared now. So Bruce with another $10 super chat again. Thank you, Bruce. It's good to see you here, sir. What is sad is that Skyrealms of Jarun is a better place to borrow ideas and characters than Disney Star Wars.
I don't know. Never read Skyrealms of Jarun.
I just, at this point, I'm like, nothing that Disney Star Wars does either surprises me or makes me interested in watching anything they do. It's funny. I have the original trilogy, and I can just watch it anytime I want, and I'll continue to do so.
Alternately, I'm the same way about Bruce Lombardo. Anything he says no longer surprises me, or okay.
Don't encourage him, man.
Bruce said some shit. Hey, he's giving you money every time he does it. Bruce said some shit and forced you to read it.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that is fair.
And then
Bruce Lombardo again.
If you want to watch a good sci-fi, you can watch Fifth Element.
Excellent.
I go back and forth on that one. I'll love it, and then I'll be like, and then I'll love it again. Then I'll be, I don't know. There's something weird about it. I go back and forth. But Gary Oldman is, to me, one of the best character actors ever. That dude can hide himself in any role he ever plays in.
Jean-Baptiste Emmanuel Zorg.
Jean-Baptiste Emmanuel Zorg.
Yeah.
Not like a killer, because a killer would ask, what's that yellow button do?
Yeah.
And for $5, Bruce said, remember, kids, steal means to strategically transfer equipment to alternate location. He was in the military.
Let's change the E to something that implies, ideas.
Yeah.
Strategically transfer what? Nothing? All right, fuck it.
I got nothing right now.
To the thesaurus.
So there you go. You'll have to give her to me because I'm reading some super chats. Law Dog for $10. Thank you, Law Dog, for the $10 and for the memberships that you gave earlier. What Nagahide said, keep the game interesting by making the players by making it the player's story. Let them write their own destinies within the bounds of your world. Bear does this extremely well in his games.
Thank you.
Look at that double shout out. You know what? DM James, I'm sure you do something as well.
That's a fact.
There you go. Well, he's mentioned you guys. I needed to add the third.
Here's the vaguest compliment we can possibly give you. I'm sure you do something as well.
I appreciate it, Max.
DM James knows I love him. Oh no,
know
it's his brother. We don't want to deal. Where's Hungar?
Yeah,
all right,
where is Hungar?
And for $2, La Dog also says, also James needs a noise gate. Yes, he does. But love you, James.
Is it me that's been noisy?
Yeah, it's been you, and every time, because your microphone is like right next to your water there too. Every time you stir your brush, it's like when Bear's talking, it's louder than Bear. But there's like music and TV or something going on in the background.
Insult to tell me that I'm loud. Fuck you, Liao.
Yes.
You basic Capellan cunt.
Wow.
I've been
See?
trying to make
play
these
that
streams nice and family friendly.
I didn't get that memo.
Nobody got that memo. All right. So thank you. Now, we had a couple questions that we'll try to knock out pretty quickly here. So in this case, please give shorter answers, but go ahead and give your complete answer. Timothy Fraley asks, question, does sci-fi have to be in space?
No, it does not. Sci-fi can be anywhere you want to set it. It could be inside an atom. It could be inside a bathtub. It could be anywhere.
Inside a bathtub. All right. I know, Nagahide, you said no real quickly, but James, you got anything?
No, of course not. I mean, I would argue that cyberpunk is sci-fi, and
Very much so.
It takes place in like California, so
Okay.
NorCal
yeah. So I mean,
Shadowrun sci-fi.
is shit, and no one should ever play it. But
You would have people actually say that
You're
Shadowrun and
right.
Cyberpunk
I
aren't
just
sci-fi,
had
though.
to say it.
Shadowrun is sci-fi for D&D players who wanted to play Cyberpunk but just couldn't let go of the D&D.
See, I like both Shadowrun and Cyberpunk. Again, first and second edition Shadowrun, I like them both. But for the purposes of sometimes I want the magic, sometimes I don't. Yeah. But next question is, if you use magic and space travel, is it sci-fi?
I don't know. Is Warhammer 40K sci-fi?
yeah, yes, hard
Does
sci-fi.
Does it have magic?
It is psionics.
Psychers, yeah, does that count as magic?
That brings us back
Nope.
to that earlier lazy Asimov statement, or whoever it was, about any sufficiently advanced society and technology will appear as magic. So,
Yeah, but this is specifically mutants that are born with the ability to harness
sorry, didn't realize Mako was still
mental
on. Is it still on?
energies.
No, you're good now.
You're good now.
So yeah, it's all about
Ultimately.
mutations.
I could give gravitas to every answer I give by just leaving it on.
The voice from God.
It does sound pretty cool.
Thank you.
It would get annoying after a while. It does sound cool right now, but it would get annoying if like the rest of the stream was that. So
Oh yeah.
I'm
all right,
not sure.
I hope that answers the question. We got to move to the next segment, though. And so I want to remind everybody to like, subscribe, and share. That was about building your universe. I'm sure in there somewhere at some point we talked about that. Next segment is going to actually be about science fiction RPG systems. They've only mentioned about 40 of them already, but we'll rehash those 40 and dive into them maybe just a touch more in the next episode.